Don't get locked out.
Hola, un chube, por favor.
Oh, everybody! This door is closed. Help!
Carnal,
Help!
you
Come
got
on,
a
come on,
charger,
come on.
homie?
Let's go. Give me a hand.
Yes,
Come on.
thank you.
It was this moment right here that I realized he was going to pull this thing off. Paul Thomas Anderson's $130 million blockbuster about revolutionaries, fascism, and fatherhood, one battle after another, was a big risk. Not just for Warner Brothers, who lost a good chunk of money on the film, but also for writer and director Paul Thomas Anderson. It'd been almost 3 decades since PTA had taken on a film of this scale, and even then, Magnolia wasn't at this high of a budget, and didn't have a narrative that spanned through time in the way this one did. The budget of One Battle was nearly 4 times that of Magnolia, making it easily Anderson's biggest budget film yet. Born from Thomas Pynchon's novel Vineyard, the idea was ruminating in his mind roughly 20 years ago before getting to make the movie, and he started to write ideas and story beats as early as 2000. With a loaded cast of solidified movie stars and one of the best film debuts in recent memory, the expectations for this one were huge. The world was ready for One Battle After Another to be an overstuffed, boring film that flopped at the box office. And while the film finished its theatrical run standing to lose roughly $100 million, the film was by no means a dud. PTA landed it, and I believe it's one of the most impressive feats in his career. Netting him his first Oscar and his first directing Oscar ever in the same show. But how exactly did he do it? With so much on the line, an incredibly packed story, a huge budget, a film format that hadn't been consistently used in decades, what made One Battle After Another the best picture and not a mess? A key element that really holds One Battle After Another together is the pacing. For a film that is nearly 3 hours in length, jumps forward 16 years of time roughly 35 minutes into the movie, and features 6 major characters, you barely feel the runtime on this thing. A huge part of that is nailing the pacing, and that comes down to a few things, but notably editing. With so many characters, movie plot threads, and ground to cover, it's essential that One Battle uses its time wisely. Editor Andy Jurgensen described the balance of giving the scene breathing room, but still keeping the movie flowing.
Sometimes not struggling, but like there always was like a balancing act of like how long should that be? Because of course you could make it really quick if you needed to, but you need to set up Perfidia. You know, she's such a like dynamic part of the beginning, and you're not going to see her till the end, or you're going to hear her at the end. But she's the prologue, right. You know. So we had to find like that perfect balance of like giving that like enough meat and enough of a good setup, but still like just moving the story along. From the first minute of One Battle After Another, it sucks you in and doesn't let go throughout the entire runtime of the film. With so much going on, One Battle moves through a series of different mini-arcs essentially, with the whole 35-minute opening resolving many characters within that time. But you can also notice this with how characters like Sensei pop up and their function in the story. This is part of why the movie keeps you hooked for its entire runtime, with the continual throughline that's clear and being followed up on, the hostile and taxed relationship between Bob and Lockjaw that leads to the kidnapping of Willa Ferguson in the final encounter in the desert, but also movie pieces like The Community and Backed & Cross and many of the members of the French 75, as well as so much more. Anderson understands how to dole out information in a way that keeps you engaged and waiting for more, without just overstimulating the audience, or relying on new exposition to get the audience interested. It feels natural and flows seamlessly from one scene to the next. A great example is here. We spent some time with Bob and Will in their world, getting a feel for how they operate and the rules of their new life. When Bob talks to the teacher about Willa not having her mother, the teacher mentions the difficulty of a missing mother in the home. Then the film cuts to the detention camp where Lockjaw is working. It's such a genius transition, not only because it feels like it's time to update us about the rest of the world too, but it's able to keep us right in it by visually reminding us of the same thing we had just heard about. And this breakneck yet incredibly purposeful editing style is what makes Anderson's movies some of the best rides in movies today. Of course, it's hard to mention the incredible pacing of this movie without mentioning the wonderful score by Johnny Greenwood. Not only does it have these incredible drums and swooning orchestras, it also has this unreal chaos to it. It reminded me quite a bit of John Brion's score for Punch Drunk Love, an erratic and unnerving score that elevates the anxiety and rhythm of the film. That same sort of tactic is deployed here and works really well. This balance that we see throughout the film in the timing of the scene length and in the edit is also present in the score. Not only how Greenwood made it, which was this unconventional tuning and structure process where Greenwood sort of made it as he went, but also how it was deployed. While the film has a consistent balance of music throughout the beginning of the movie, with Greenwood's score getting to freely explore its depths, going to all different places it can as the movie moves through so much, but when the main narrative settles in, the score follows. From the moment we see Bob outside beginning to run in search for Willa, the dysfunctional and overwhelming score that PTA loves so much kicks in. What follows are 30 of the most chaotic minutes of the movie that all sort of feels like one extended scene, even as it jumps through different characters and perspectives. This is partially because this same sort of melody maintains throughout. It keeps that pace going.
and the calmer music finally returns when Willa reaches a safe place. In many ways, though, this is also working because of all these elements are coming together, and so is the script. Around minute 56, we learn about Willa having a phone that Bob doesn't know about, and around minute 58, we learn it's important she shouldn't and that she's lied to Deandra about the phone. We know it's coming as everything begins to deteriorate and we watch our characters haphazardly attempt to find Willa. It remains in the back of our mind. About 15 minutes later, the drug enforcement officers mention it again, as we then transition to Bob learning about the phone as well. As we then get to his secrets with Sensei. Then, another 15 minutes later, the agents are able to get the number and call it, bringing it full circle with Deandra scolding Willa for having the phone, and then Lockjaw is alerted to its presence. In 30 minutes and in just a few sparse scenes, the phone is established, keeps all three of our main characters and their locations linked, and resolves cleanly in 3 separate segments that don't feel remotely disruptive or out of place. Going hand in hand with the pacing, there's an undeniable rhythm and energy to this movie. Aside from just keeping the movie flowing and interesting, it also needs to have something distinct or alive about it. Bringing it back to editor Andy Jurgensen, he put it as,
reading the script, it's a wild ride, obviously. So we knew there was always going to have to be this momentum, this propulsion just going through, throughout. But one thing that we were really aware of is if it just keeps going fast through to the end, it's going to be exhausting.
Like I mentioned earlier, something that's consistently a really engaging and entertaining aspect of Paul Thomas Anderson's work to me is his ability to build to these grand moments and then how he's able to quickly rebuild again right after. That tense 30-minute portion of the film that I said feels like one sequence caps with Willa reaching the Brave Fever, but also Bob getting caught. The built-up energy sort of all finally comes to a small resolution here, but it's just over 10 minutes later that the movie is picking up steam again, with new information established and Bob out of the picture long enough, the race gets going again. These are the peaks and valleys that film editor Andy Jurgensen was discussing, the sort of balance that comes with continually building to something, while not exhausting the audience or losing their attention. Have you ever felt during a movie like it's meandering, or that you aren't sure where things are heading? Maybe not always in a literal plot sense, but in a dramatic or thematic sense. One battle avoids this pitfall by choosing when to pay off and when to sustain, when to let the energy simmer out, or, like the extended backed and cross sequence, when to keep things amped up to 11. Mentioning the terrific score from Greenwood again, this is not only a testament to how it's deployed, but the sort of unwieldy energy built into it. Listen to how chaotic and unsettling the whole soundtrack gets while maintaining that same energy. The pitch is up and it feels like it's all swelling to one grand moment, which we get when Bob is caught. It's just another terrific use of the different elements of the film to create this energy and rhythm. Part of it is being so deliberate with these choices though. Keep in mind while the film begins to pick back up after the Brave Fever section is passed, it isn't until about 30 minutes later that the film jumps back once into this chaotic energy that it nailed before, slowly building back into it. The film once again valleys, if you want to put it like that, coming to a more tepid pace when Willa is taken to Avanti. The stakes are sort of reaffirmed here, with Willa's life and safety clearly on the line. Considering the movie plans on going all out for the next 30 minutes, it's crucial to ground us for a moment and give us a reminder, even if small, of what is at stake and how everyone will converge here. But we'll talk about the road more later. Another key part of this is how tuned into their roles everybody was. Every character has a clear energy and pace that is crucial to not only their character, but balancing the scene. Look at the entirety of the vape store section and Sensei's community in Backed and Cross. There's an incredible controlled chaos energy to this section that I keep mentioning, and it's partially achieved because of this balance of characters. Bob is frantic, moving throughout the scene and keeping the pace going, while Sensei is more reserved and tempered. We don't get overwhelmed because we feel like Sensei has things under control. Like he's calm, but we also don't lose the sense of what's at stake because Bob continues to keep the intensity and energy alive. Benicio described this give and go in an interview, saying,
Leo came in with this energy that it's a little bit like Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon, just really intense. I had to be the catcher. He's pitching 100 miles an hour, and I had just to stand there and just let him go around and then little by little fulfill what Paul, as a writer, is trying to say.
Like so much of what I've said here, it's an incredible balance, and maintaining these two levels of energy in tandem is crucial for the movie being able to hum at this pace for the entire runtime. I just mentioned it, as well as started the video with it, but the vape store sequence is a perfect summation of everything that works so well in this movie. We learn so much about Sensei and his community without ever being told about it, or feeling we are. Bob's chaotic energy helps him move throughout the scene. He gives us a bigger picture of the world he's stepping into. The scene never stops and just keeps moving until Bob can finally make the next phone call. But like I was saying about Benicio's performance, he exists in this zone without ever losing himself to it. It's such a terrific moment and a great example of the tempo and rhythm this movie has. Speaking so much of Bagton Cross and Sensei's role in the film, another key aspect of this energy and tone maintained throughout the movie is the adaptability and dynamism of the film. The entire Bagton Cross Underground Railroad that Sensei runs was an idea that Benicio came up with and presented to PTA.
This town is being invaded, as like he says, it's a goddamn roundup and I gotta deal with this shit. So Benicio is the one that came up with the majority of that material. And we responded. Flo responded by building new things that needed to move. We found new locations. Adam responded by finding local talent that could play the immigrants. We hired all the store people that owned the store to play the parts,
So much of One Battle After Another feels like a testament to innovation and improvisation. Thomas Fight made an incredible video I recommend checking out that's dedicated to the spontaneity of the film that is really well done, with the entire ending of the movie sort of coming to fruition as the movie was being made. But this sort of ad-libbing and adjust-on-the-fly style of filmmaking adds to the film. To steal another quote, DP Michael Bauman's description of the process of making the movie also felt important to me.
Just really taking this thing and like Sarah said, this was a very sort of, in certain ways, unconventional as far as the production approach and things. And so it was really about just wrapping your arms around it for what this is, and you just hang on for the ride.
Shot on VistaVision, both Paul Thomas Anderson and Michael Bauman have spoken extensively about the process of shooting on a camera of that size. It is another key part of this movie choosing to innovate and take risks. This film is full of incredible shots and beautiful imagery that's partially due to the VistaVision film print, as well as the terrific work of Michael Bauman. The movie is able to move so freely throughout the setting and plot like I've described, but also tone. When tackling a story like this, with a plethora of contemporary real-world similarities, it can be hard to not come off as either preachy or tone-deft. One Battle blends both genre and tone really well, layering the comedic elements into the dramatic stakes of finding where Willa is. It's great because basically every phone scene with Bob is hilarious and some of the more memorable stuff from the movie, but it never loses the stakes or importance. It's similar to the balance I discussed earlier with Sensei playing off of Bob. When Bob goes loud and funny, Benicio's more reserved and purposeful energy makes it clear the importance of what's at stake still. It's incredible. This is a huge part of why the film never loses you. Much like the characters in the story, it feels like the movie is constantly finding a new way to keep you engaged and keep this thing humming. And because they're so good at balancing the pace, the movie is able to have these payoffs and build-ups throughout and never feel like it's losing you or burning out. Once something is used up or feels like we've explored it as much as we might need to, it's able to just pick up into something different as well. Think about how we get to know our locations. There's a few different times when a new location is established, or a building, that we learn about through our characters. Bob and Sensei lead the camera through the vape store and apartments, moving us forward but also straying off to let us see more. The camera has this sort of high energy and chaotic beat to it that I've been discussing all video, where the camera does help the momentum of the film to keep going, whether it be the handheld chaos of Bob's scenes, or the tight close-ups in the Christmas Adventurers Club. The camera consistently feels like another part of the movie that's just alive and humming, and gives you such an interesting viewpoint into the film. It's part of the balance too. The camera's able to cue us into the energy and mood of the scene. During the Bagton Cross raid, we move through 4 main perspectives and the camera work is wholly unique throughout. When we're with Lockjaw and the operatives on the street, the camera is mostly pulled back and our view is obstructed. We feel disconnected from Lockjaw and what he might be up to, like we're unsure of his next move. When we're with Agent Danvers in the high school, the shot is tied up but just a little bit away, and it's steady. It's intense, and helps us get a feel for how tense the scenario our characters are in is. When we're with Willa and Deandra, the camera is tight on their faces, shaking just a little bit. Much like Willa, we have very little idea of where we are or where we are going, so our visual information is very limited. And finally, when we're with Bob and Sensei, the camera work is its most fluid. It moves through all these different shot compositions we've seen, maintaining a rough but focused type of camera work. It's handheld, but not as chaotic and hectic as the solo Bob scenes. There's a much clearer rhythm. Everything I've discussed would be in vain without a good ending. With so many different characters converging and the whole 16-year story coming to fruition, as well as the tension and energy the film had built up finally paying off, nailing the ending was essential. Paul Thomas Anderson and the whole crew recognized this.
Nobody gives a shit about a car chase if you don't care about the people in the car, right? So then it's just a bunch of car. No one cares about the cars. They care about the people.
Pulling off that balancing act was essential to making this moment feel earned and anticipated, and I think they succeeded. By this point, everything is built into this scene. The movie has done an incredible job of getting us here. It can choose to make this moment a bit longer because the rest of the film has been so prompt. But then came the whole next battle of making that moment itself interesting and engaging. I found the car chase scene to be incredibly enthralling and unlike any other car chase I had ever seen. There were a few points where I really felt like the cars were actually moving that fast, but the tension was built into it from those characters, as well as the enchanting style of it. The way the cars move throughout the hills and it's able to use that to limit our information in the scene, building out dramatics in a pretty unconventional way, at least for a modern car chase, is awesome.
It's funny because while it's less bombastic or over the top than those car chases I'm describing, it was also so much harder to film.
What's that challenge when you flip the bottle and you try and get it to land exactly right? It was like that because the best stunt drivers in the world, the best camera operators in the world, is still trying to get to come over a rise to see one car there but then drop while the other one rises. All those little things that we were trying to get, the timing of it was kind of at a certain point, you just had to cross your fingers.
Much like that dynamic and innovative energy I discussed earlier, the final climax of the movie feels like the film is still finding new ways to show us the action or get us excited. I mentioned how the sequence is allowed to be a bit longer than some of the action sequences or longer sequences, but it also has that same propulsion and energy the film had earlier. The scene never lets up, we don't cut away. The furthest we cut to is Bob, who, despite being far away, is part of the action still. The camera remains close up or far away, illustrating the tension in the scene, but also the decreasing distance that's building the tension. There's some incredible pieces of camera work and editing that just stand as gorgeous and impressive on their own. Notably, I think of the 3 profile shots in a row that all look incredible. The final moment of the sequence is really amazing though, and possibly the best part of the whole film. With the entire movie building towards the reunion of Bob and Willa, PTA and crew chose not to rush the moment. I can't express enough how great the patience is in this moment, and how much more impactful it makes it feel. It really feels as big as it should, while still being so personal. The unbelievable score by Greenwood kicks in again, but unlike the controlled chaos of before that heightens the scene, the song here is wonderfully soothing and calming. Leo and Chase Infinity, while I don't think I've actually discussed the performances so far, are great, and they really make this moment, especially Chase Infinity, phenomenal. I highly encourage Thomas Flight's video I recommended earlier, but I quite enjoy how he read the scene, discussing how it sort of allows Willa to fully take the hero role of the film, making it clear if it wasn't already. Despite my best efforts, much like many of the best scenes in movies ever, it's hard to put into words what makes this scene just so phenomenal, but when you watch it, you get it. Ever since I saw One Battle After Another in theaters 3 times, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. This unreal energy and rhythm is something I come to love in all of Anderson's work. It's a huge reason why his film Punch Drunk Love is maybe my favorite ever. It's what makes movies like Boogie Nights or Magnolia for that matter so engaging and electric. So to see him deploy it so excellently here again, and in a way I didn't even realize he could do, was one of my favorite movie watching experiences of 2025. Considering where the film industry is at, and the rare and rarer opportunities being handed out for films like this, it makes me so happy that Paul Thomas Anderson is not only not playing it safe, but innovating and taking new risks this deep into his career. We don't get films like this often, but we also don't get filmmakers like PTA often. I think that's about going to do it for this one though. So as always, thank you for watching. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Follow me on Letterboxd and go watch One Battle After Another. Before you go though, I want to tell you about a little something that I've been working on. Recently, I've started writing again on Substack, whether it be contemporary movie reviews about current releases in theaters, or my new series which ties into this video, The Current Curriculum. I'm going to be covering films from the 2020s that I find to be important and future classics. Movies that I think in decades to come we will look back on and consider classics and view as some of the best movies ever. The first movie I'm choosing to write about in that series is Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another, and I would really appreciate if you checked out my Substack article about the movie as well. I plan on releasing at least 2 of these a month on Substack, and I will continue to do contemporary movie reviews there as well, so I would really appreciate if you gave it a follow and checked out what I'm writing over there. But that's all of your time I'm going to take, so let's get back to the outro.